So we have our own ESG taxonomy, which is global. And it also has very clear control systems so that we execute it consistently across the world, regardless of where the transaction takes place. We then have started to build a very deep in-house expertise in sustainability as well as banking, so that we can go 2-3 layers deeper into understanding what is material, what is not material in any particular ESG transaction. The third thing we have done is we have a very client-centric and non-product-centric approach. So my team and our approach out of APAC, we are all cross-divisional. And when we engage a client, it's a very strategic dialogue around what have you committed to do, what have you accomplished, what remains to be done, how can we help you?
Kamran,
let me
stop you there.
Very important thing.
It's still about the business. So what is the contribution, top line and bottom line, from APEC that you are targeting will meet Deutsche Bank's goal of sustainable finance, about 200 billion euros, I understand?
Yes. So, look, we at Deutsche Bank look at a client as a global client. Every relationship is global, so we don't necessarily divide it across regions. But what I can tell you is that out of our top 100 clients, 82 of them are operating in Asia. And across the financial services industry, you will see that majority of ESG capital that is being raised in other regions eventually gets, a big chunk of that gets deployed in Asia, because this is where growth is happening. For our own bank, I can tell you that we announced our targets of 200 billion euros by 2025 last year. And we've already brought it down to 2023, 2 years ahead of time, because of the conversion we are seeing. Just to give you another case in point, for
Kamran,
2020,
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we are going to have to leave it there. It's great news, and we wish you every success in your journey here. Kamran Khan is the APAC head of ESG at Deutsche Bank here in Singapore. Thank you for your time today. Wei Sue, back to you.
Thanks there, Christine. A decade has passed since the disastrous accident at Japan's Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. Some former residents of a town where the damaged facility is located have started to return after being forced to flee because of radioactive fallout. CNN's Michu Ishida with this report.
Okuma Town, ground zero of the 2011 Fukushima nuclear accident. 11,000 people used to live here. Today, much of it still looks like a horror movie set. In 2019, the government declared that parts of the town were considered safe for residents to return. Around 800 now reside in this area. Most are temporary residents who came to Okuma to help with the decommissioning of the damaged Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. About 300 are former residents who returned to Okuma recently, like 23-year-old Makiko Sato. Makiko was 13 when she was evacuated from Okuma after the triple disaster 10 years ago. She returned to Okuma last year after her budding theater career in Tokyo came to a dead end because of COVID-19. She has lived in a government-sponsored house since returning to Okuma. She also found a job with the local government.
まちづくり公社っていう、なんだろう、町民の方と役場の方のなんか中間ぐらいにいる立場なので、今はもう楽しめているその状況も。こう
Coming back to Okuma has triggered a sense of mission in her for the town.
奥間に13年間しかもともと住んでなかったから知らないことの方が多いですし、もっと奥間を知っていかなきゃいけないなって思いますし、さらにこう新しい奥間を作っていく世代だと思うので、そこは意識していこうかなって思ってます。
Makiko has settled in well in her new home. But Okuma Mayor Jun Yoshida said he cannot paint a future for Okuma yet.
この赤いところがじゃあここは除染をいつやるんだとかいつから、例えば住むことができるんだとかということ全く経営学の立っていないところがこの赤いところなんです。こういう大きく今3つですかね分けられてます。こっちのグリーンのところは中間貯蔵施設ですので、こちらは人間が住むということはもうそもそもありえないところですのでね。
He said for areas that have been decontaminated, there have been efforts to repopulate them, although the progress has been slow.
特定復興再生拠点っていう860ヘクタールあるんですけど、そこを位置づけたところは除染をしてインフラも整備してということで、来年の春解除を目指している場所です。この黄色いところは。
This is the yellow area the mayor referred to. Ahead of the lifting of its no entry zone status next year, a new train station was recently opened in the area.
Ono train station reopened in 2020, but right in front of the train station are homes surrounded by barricades.
Hardly anyone uses this train station, although the commuter express train stops here. It will be a long time before a new future for the town arrives. Michio Ishida, CNA, Okuma Town, Fukushima.
It's the highlight of every stargazer's calendar. A supermoon and total lunar eclipse combined to put on a big red show with a super blood moon. Some of us may have spotted it last night, but for those who slept through it, the solar system's aligned for this rare cosmic event. But unlike a solar eclipse, this one is safely visible to the naked eye. You can see the moon darkening and turning red. At this point, it can appear up to 30% brighter and 14% larger than at its farthest point. The two phenomena, supermoon and a lunar eclipse, on their own are not that uncommon. A total lunar eclipse happens maybe twice a year, while a supermoon could occur up to 4 times annually. But at the same time, well, that's once in a decade. Only a partial eclipse could be seen in most of Asia, in places such as Hong Kong and Greater China. Bad weather dampened most of the splendor. For one of the best views, you would have to be on the Pacific, or even better, be one of the lucky passengers aboard Australian airliner Qantas's one-off supermoon flight. That's Asia Now for this hour. Headlines anytime at cna.asia. Plus, we're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Look forward to brighter skies. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
The internet, it's contributing to global carbon emissions.
I'm doing it for my first time.
भविष्य 되게 잘하고 있어.
이자고 뭐 안 보인다니까.
This is like the iPhone of 1902.
We collect information from the landscape.
She's my wife. She is dying. Please help.